Welcome to another episode of Nerdtooine Movie Podcast. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a while since we've spoke. That's because the build up to Megacon was insane, and I just couldn't get a way to really make any episodes for you guys. And then I don't know if you can tell, but I'm still kind of getting over it. I actually got real sick a couple days after Megacon with a bad flu. So all this episode was supposed to be last week. We were supposed to do a whole MegaCon recap, and I just couldn't do it. I was out. But here we are. That's what we're going to do today. We're also going to have a comic book review of a comic I read called Stellarlands, which is pretty awesome. And we will talk about some other things. But the main thing today will be the Megacon 2024 review. Man, it was it was crazy. I definitely feel like from now on, any convention I go to, I'm going to probably wear a mask, especially on the convention floor. It's just there's just so many people, so many chances to get sick, and I got lucky. I didn't get COVID. I just got a pretty bad flu, knocked me out for a couple of days. I mean, I was even out a couple of days from work, so that was crazy. But man, MegaCon this year was something truly special. To give you a little backstory, MegaCon will always hold a very important place in my heart because it was the first big convention I ever went to, and I went the first time with the celebrity VIP pass, which looking back now, I didn't even really use like I probably should have. Really the only thing I used it for was the Kevin Conroy signature and picture that I got. I spoke about this before my podcast. When I walked up to him and this is the person whose voice was what I heard in my head when I think of Batman. When I read comics, I hear Kevin Conroy as Batman. So he was very important to me. And I walked up to him and I didn't hold back. I was like, "Hello, Batman." And it was a much better version. Like I said, I'm still getting over the flu, but I did my impression of the Joker, the Mark Hamill version, and he responded, "I have to kill you now, right?" And we went back and forth a few times, and he complimented me. He's like, "It's a pretty damn good Joker." He told me I should go to see Troy Baker, who also does a Joker voice as well. And I literally left the show that year right after the Kevin Conroy signing, and I never got a chance to give that to him. So if anyone who's watching this knows Troy, let him know that I have a message from Conroy to give him. So one day I hope to give that to him. That was my first big con. The magic of meeting these people, and the comic book artists and everything. It was just absolutely magic, and then the second year I came once again with a VIP pass, and then which was last year, and then I ended up actually getting an exhibitor badge because I was helping out a couple vendors at the convention. So I did that, and that was pretty awesome. And then this year I returned once again, but this time as a guest of the 305 Comics Collectibles, because we had an official Megacon exclusive of my debut creator-owned, self-published comic book ashcan for Here Walks Monsters. Tina Michele, one of the co-owners of 305, did the cover with a small print run of 50 virgin chrome holofoils, which we sold out of, which is something that I had hoped would happen. And I really, I people who know me know I have a very hard time not being able to come up with the words. But to actually have a sold out Megacon exclusive, like what that means to me is something that even I can't put into words. But it was something special. Now, Megacon was an experience, again, as it always is. From what I heard, it was about 4 times bigger than last year, which apparently broke all records for Megacon. This is the first year for me that it was at the West Concourse. Because apparently there was CattleCon going on a few days while Megacon was going on in the South and North Concourse. And I admit, rolling up to the convention center that first day, like I saw CattleCon, I was like, "Oh my god, did I mess up the dates?" Which was crazy because I was texting the 305 ladies the whole day on my way up, and obviously it wasn't. It was the right weekend. But hey, I didn't get to go wire to wire. I was there about an hour after the convention opened for the VIPs, right around when the general public was let in. So, I did as close to wire as I could get. Now, I do have to take a moment to speak about something leading up to Megacon. So I was, leading up to Megacon, I'm posting all these pictures about the exclusive and everything on Instagram, and then the official Instagram account of Covrprice started following Here Walks Monsters account. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool. That's awesome. And then, for those who don't know, Covrprice is a website as well as an app that does many things in the comic space, such as, tracking accurate value, announcing key issues, many other great services for both sellers and collectors and buyers alike. And no, this is not a paid promotion or any way partnership promo. I wouldn't be opposed to it, obviously. But no, this is just an experience I had. So I have always held Covrprice in high regard because it doesn't seem to have any type of agenda. It just seems to be the facts and a good tool to use for collectors, and sellers alike. So I messaged the Covrprice account and I was like, hey, my name is Kyle. A lot of people know me as Nerdtooine. I wrote this book. I have an official Megacon exclusive. How do I get on the platform? And they were like, they didn't send anything back for a little while, and then they sent 2 links. I was already on the Covrprice app. And then they went on to say that, we're going to put you also on the what to buy at Megacon list that we're making. I'm like, really? Are you sure? And then when the article released, I was blown away. My comic right there is on the top row. And they put us in the actual article. We're in between the Disputed Territory #1, which is a Miku Suyan black and white virgin cover through Big Time Collectibles, which is, big time. And the House of Slaughter open in ink #1 gold gilded virgin from Andrew Curry and No Mas and Captured Collectibles, and above covers. Now that's actually was like 24 karat gold. That was like $100, $125 book. Just saying. And then higher than covers like by Art Germ, Clayton Crane, Jenny Frizon, and many more. And I just can't speak enough about how unbelievably gracious and just the unbelievable amounts of gratitude I have for being featured on that list. It was definitely something that was crucial in helping us sell out, because there were people who actually were literally walking up to talk to us because of that. The very first person that actually bought a book, it was right when the general public was let in. He basically ran up with his son and was, and is this a 305 Comics booth? Yes. Is this right here, the Here Walks Monsters Megacon exclusive? Yes, it is. And are you the writer? Yes, I am. And this is Tina. She did the artwork for the cover. And he said that he saw it on the list and saw that it took place in Florida and that it was written by someone who lived in Florida. And he said that he wanted to make sure that he got a copy. It was moments like that really started to open my eyes and, change my perspective of what I really had accomplished, and they were the first ones to buy a book, and I was incredibly nervous. I practiced my signature over and over and over again. I thought I'd be fancy, make it two-toned, and special and everything. And that first one, let me tell you, that first one is probably one of the worst signatures you will ever see in your life because I was literally shaking. So I want to apologize. If you ever see me at another convention and you bring me that exclusive, what I will do is I will give you whatever convention exclusive I have at the time. If you want to save that up for later on down the road, by all means. But yeah, that was unbelievable. And throughout the convention, being able to speak to people, as many people as I could about the book. I mean, this was the first time I ever sold a copy of my book face to face, because everything I had done previously was done through Kickstarter with the successful Kickstarter campaign. So this was something very special. And I want to send a shout out to a couple of my, could call them fans, but these people are family to me, who came over and made sure they got a copy and were just so happy to, get a copy and get it signed. And I have to admit something. I have not found a single one that has been resold anywhere on eBay, maybe on Whatnot. I have not seen it for sure. I don't know. But at this point, it seems that everyone who bought a copy bought one for themselves, and that means a lot. But let's shout out some names here. Of course, the boys from CCJ, they came through and each bought a copy. Then you had Wolverine's Comic Shop, who, of course, got his Monster Edition, which I've spoken about before on the podcast, as well as a Megacon exclusive. And he got them graded through CGC with a witness and everything. And to have a CGC witness there, watching me sign it, taking down my information so that I can be put into the system and be on the label and everything correctly. And it was, there's a lot of controversy and things going on with CGC right now. And, a lot of people just have nothing but negative things to say. I got to say, as my first time interaction as a writer, they were nothing but professional and amazing with me. So it was definitely an experience that I didn't really, I should have thought that I would have had, but for some reason it still caught me off guard. It was pretty awesome. Of course, anyone who bought a copy, but and then of course, I met Challenger, as well as a person I've known for quite some time on social media, Brent, who they both have their own, comic shops on Whatnot and other places. And I've just known them for a while, and I finally got to meet them in person. They got their copies. They even got blanks. These people that I have interacted with many times, it was a different experience to have them looking to get something that I created, not something I was just selling. It was truly special, and I thank you all for all the kind words and everything you did over this whole Megacon experience. It meant the world to me. And just know that this is not the end. This is just the beginning. Since we're doing shout outs, let me just start rolling out some of these shout outs. Gotta send another one to Tina Michele, fantastic artist, writer, and just overall person. She spent the entire convention just doing remark after remark after remark, fanning after fanning, signature after signature, and she absolutely crushed them all. For the future, if you're at any convention, you see the 305 booth is there, go see Tina, and say hi, of course, but also to check out her availability for remarks, because she has a lot of them. She goes on Pops, she can do them on comic books, pretty much anything you have that you want to get remarks, she can do. She does fantastic work, reasonable price, especially for the quality that she does. And again, this is not a paid promotion or any partnership like that, but it just, I can't speak enough about how easy the entire process was with her. Literally, she sent me a couple covers, picked one, said, can you add zombies at the bottom? Done. All right, we're good to go. Let's go. Let's send it to print. It was just beautiful. It was simple and just a pleasure to work with. And then also another shout out to, to Liana, who was, she's the other co-owner of 305, and she was basically our manager, watching us, watching the work, taking care of both of us crazies for 4 days. So nothing less than, spectacular and impressive. I definitely would be remiss if I didn't send her a thank you. Very, very big thank you. Both of you literally made a dream come true. You not only helped me get the exclusive by, Tina doing the art and, getting the approval through Megacon and doing all the fees and the contracts and everything like that. But, also inviting me, give me an exhibitor badge, welcome me into your home, making sure I got back safely. Megacon 2024 means so much to me, and that wouldn't have happened without you guys. And it really, really means a lot. And it's almost impossible to put into words how much. But I especially right now, I think maybe if all goes according to plan, looking back, this will be the moment where Here Walks Monsters and myself really, as a writer and publisher, creator, and all of that, was put on the map. As and I'm really, it really means a lot, and I'm happy to announce that this looks like this is the first of many team ups, and hopefully and more than likely we'll be doing another one for Supercon in July, if not sooner. So be on the lookout for that. Also, I did bring some non-Megacon exclusive blanks of the Ash Can. I thought maybe people would want to grab them and bring them to their favorite artists and get covers done. Only a couple people actually bought them, but what I did was I got some smash remarks on the cover going, and the first one I got was from Alan Quah, who I've met previously. He's actually the first comic book I ever got signed and submitted for grading through Signature Series or anything like that, was an Alan Quah Good Boy exclusive last year through Agents of Slabs. And I spoke about that previously, how I really respect them as a company of what they did with me. We had a lot of issues with the shipping, and basically in the end it was taken care of, and I got the book. I'll be a little bit late, but it was all taken care of very nicely. And ironically, we were across, they had a booth right across from where we were at the 305 booth, so that was pretty awesome. And when I brought initially I brought a couple books for Quah to sign, because I have a World Tree exclusive with him. So I walked up and I brought him the covers. I was like, hey, just so you know, and turned it over. I was like, I'm Nerdtooine. I'm one of the people that did this exclusive with you, and I really appreciate how amazing work you did. He told me, man, I wish I could have done better. If you've seen my World Tree #1 exclusive, Quah absolutely destroyed it. He absolutely knocked out the park. And I talked to him about maybe doing a Here Walks Monsters cover. He was really excited about doing it. And I look forward to maybe making that announcement coming up in the very near future. But he did a great job. And then I walked over to someone who was literally 2 booths down from me. The legendary King of Zombies himself, Arthur Suydam. This is the guy, in case you don't know, who, and I probably butchered his name. I have a hard time saying some people's names. People make fun of me how I say certain creators' names, and I'm like, listen, that's how I say it, and unless they yell at me and they just understand that I don't mean anything by it, I just say their names incorrectly sometimes. But it's all love. And for those of you who don't know, he's the guy behind Marvel Zombies and The Walking Dead. No big deal. I mean, this guy is, like I said, called the King of Zombies for a reason. So I walk up, I'm like, hey, I want to see if you can do a remark for me. And I hand him the book. First he starts, anything I want? Yeah, sure. So he starts getting started, does a little sketch. And then he looks at the comic book corner box. I was like, wow, I like that. He goes, who published this? And I go, I did. He goes, who wrote it? I did. And he goes, who did did you do the art too? I was like, no. I have a very talented artist named Martin who did that. And he actually opened it up and looked through it. And, he looked through it, said, look, it looks pretty good. He did a good job. And I have to admit, a switch was flipped. Erroneous how small that comment might have been to him, to me, then changed my entire thought process. I mean, the King of Zombies gives it a stamp of approval, even if it's just in kind, or whatever. It doesn't matter to me. It really doesn't. Because it basically means that no one can tell me otherwise, not even my own self-doubt. And that is something that I feel like I will look back on, whether I'm a success or a failure with this, and just have that moment to cherish, and I'm surprised I didn't go have a full meltdown in geek mode and just lose it in front of him. And it was like the feeling and the way they treated me. It was more like an equal and as someone who belonged, rather than someone who's trying to live out a dream. And I honestly, looking back, I still can't believe it. And then after that, after having my little freak out on the in the back of the booth, I then brought it over to another person who I'd already spoken to in the earlier in the day, because I have a Dracula exclusive through who, and Martin Simmonds was there, who did the art for the interiors. And so I had a couple of them sign those. I was like, hey, look, this is my exclusive. We talked a little bit then. But that's the guy, no big deal. He's responsible for the art for some of the most influential indie horror titles of recent memory. No, nothing too major. Not like Something That's Killing the Children or Department of Truth or, that new Dracula I mentioned, which is nothing, like, not a big deal, just headlining the new Universal Monster series. But, I walked up to him after that with my comic book, the blank, that had already been remarked twice. And I was like, hey, any chance you can do a remark, and he was like, yeah, sure, no problem. We'll add it to the queue. And, and I was perfectly okay with that. 100%. I was like, all right, so cool. So do I just leave it with you? Because, this is my comic book. I have a Megacon exclusive, and I'm actually selling it right now. I'm trying to sell out, so I can just leave this with you, right? And he was like, you wrote this? I was like, yeah. And I published it too. He's like, oh, awesome. You mind? Yeah, absolutely. And he starts flipping through. Like I said, so he starts slipping through. He's like, oh, that's pretty awesome. He laughing at like certain lines that are meant to be jokes, and complimenting, subtleties in the structure of the comic, And he was like, you know what? We're gonna do this now. Do you have about 30 minutes right now? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. So he started doing his work, and he unbelievably talented, and uses like watercolors and blood splat. It's absolutely stunning. It's something to really look at. I mean, he's really something that I've really respected. I mean, he's worked for Marvel Comics, Boom Studios, Image Comics, and plenty others. And he's looking at specific panels, and pointing out like, wow, I like that, and I had no business truly being there in any capacity, more than just a fan. I spoke about it many times on this podcast, how I know I'm not some big influencer, some, big name that can give a draw, and I shouldn't have been able to get a Megacon exclusive, nevertheless an official one, nevertheless on Covrprice, nevertheless on their what to buy list. Like, nevertheless selling out. It's not lost on me, and I when I talk to these people, it was just, it felt like I belonged. And man, let me tell you, that's a feeling I am not used to, not for quite some time. So that was, something that I really will look back and be like, wow, that was amazing. and sitting there where I'm talking to Martin Simmonds about how he works with James Tynion, who for almost a decade now is the most influential creator in the comic book industry in the last 10 years. I mean, like, those three remarks were a big portion of my profits from the Megacon exclusive. But those moments that I spent with them, and the inspiration and the kind words from these legends and people that I respect in the industry, every moment they gave me was absolutely priceless. And it really lit a fire under me, and I literally came home before I got caught with the sickness, because it was a couple of days after I sat down and wrote the rest of issue 1. And right now it's lists at about 20 pages, but and I've already sent over the scripts, and Martin's already started. We've completed 1 page already. That's going to be sent over to the letterer soon. And we're doing rewrites and everything, to make everything work and play really well. I'm going to rewrite the last 3 pages though, but because I'm going to make it more brutal. But I'm also thinking about extending it. So anyone's listening, comment in the comments, what do you think? Right now, it's set to be a 20-page first issue. I have been leaning more towards making it closer to 30 and more the traditional size of a lot of like superhero and comic books from publishers, bigger publishers, obviously, because not to be that person, but every single publishing house is either the same size or larger than mine, because it's just me. I'm doing everything self-publishing. I'm writing it, creating it, working out everything with all the creative people involved, the letterer, the writer, Tyrone. You're amazing. I just haven't mentioned you in this episode, but wait till you hear some of the things that were brought up in the interview I did earlier today. But yeah, this Megacon experience was just absolutely next level. And I'm so thankful and so inspired, and hope that anyone who got a copy of Here Walks Monsters, Ashcan, Megacon Exclusive, the Tina Michele, Virgin, Chromium, Hollow Foil, jeez, that's a mouthful. I really hope that you are happy with what you got. I hope you if you did read it through there, great. If not, that's fine. It may be a collector's item one day, so who knows? Or if you even just listen to me. Not everyone bought the book. Some people came over and just talked to me about it, and it was very amazing. And I can't thank all of you enough. And I have to say that I'm not a person to accept praise very well in most scenarios. But I feel as someone who isn't a big creator and just someone who made something, you have no reason to lie to them. It's not like you're talking to a famous person, and even if you didn't like their last run, you're still like, oh yeah, it was so amazing. Or if you didn't like their last movie or whatever, and there's no reason for it to, just to blow smoke up some indie creators' butt, you know what I mean? So, I took everything to heart, and I really thank you all for giving me even a moment of your time in a convention jam-packed. There were so many amazing things that you could do, and if you stop by the 305 Comics booth and did anything close to buying or even let me talk to you about my comic, it means the world to me, and I thank you for that. I'm going to be doing another episode for Megacon. I'm going to break down some of the experience I did. I got to meet Michael J. Fox. I got to get a few signatures, speak to a few celebrities. I was able to attend the Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen panel, which was almost 3,000 people in the theater. It was it was something that I'd never experienced in my life. All the panels I've been to have just been in a conference room, maybe a couple hundred people. This was thousands of Star Wars fans in one theater. And that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. But yeah, Megacon 2024 was the first ever Here Walks Monsters exclusive. If all goes according to plan, which, doesn't always, there will be more than one convention exclusive for Here Walks Monsters this year. If all goes according to plan, we're probably looking at close to 5 or more. So stay tuned. If you're here for the first time and you listen to this entire rant about Megacon and my experience at it, you do me a favor, if you're not already, subscribe to the page, either if you're seeing this on TikTok, YouTube, listening on Spotify, or any of the other podcasting platforms. I really appreciate you. We're going to take a quick break and be back with a comic book review. Stay tuned. Welcome back. So we're going to talk now about this really cool comic book that I was recently approached to read and do a review for. It's called Stellarlands, and it's basically an alcoholic superhero travels across the stars on a secret mission to retrieve sensitive information from falling into the bad guy's hands. This has a very much The Boys in space vibes, with a female lead who's more Hancock than Homelander. Artist Ben Morrell and colorist Wilson Go combined for a truly breathtaking comic. The use of blurred images to show motion, speed, as well as just focus for the main character was very impressive, and it gave it a lot of depth to a lot of the images, and I was really impressed. With the colors, they're absolutely stunning and vibrant, but not just for the sake of being so. The battle sequences are brilliant, and the way they had them flow through the comic with different positioning was very, very captivating. And I have to admit that I've been reading almost exclusively horror comics as of late. So for me to really enjoy and want to keep reading space superhero comic was really, really impressive. And it reminded me of why I used to love Green Lantern comics, the whole space police type thing, because the main character is basically, like, from what I'm gathering, like a corporate agent, and it was gave a very fresh vibe to a superhero story, especially putting it in space. That was another great thought process there. And I really liked that there were ads for items placed throughout the comic book, but the ads were for items in the book. So instead of explaining what the item is as they're using it, they used a page of the comic to have like a corporate ad for what that item does. I thought that was brilliant. The letters by SK were very easy to follow, because at the beginning there was a big expository dump, exposition to tell what was going on, because in the beginning this is a character going to governmental meetings and being given debriefs before a mission, so there has to be a lot of words there, and it made it very easy to follow and read, and there was also an alien language that I really liked, and I would love to maybe speak to SK to ask where they came up with that, because that was pretty cool. I love that. Writer Max Ferrata created a really fantastic story here. While, like I said, the text was initially heavy at the beginning, there's a very huge payoff for it. The underlying themes of mental health and addiction were done very well with a lot of care. These topics, tend to hit very close to home to a lot of people, and it was done very well. It's very hard for me to get into anything remotely superhero related, and there wasn't a single moment in this comic that I felt like I wanted to stop reading because it was superheroes. And if you like superheroes, there's nothing wrong with that. I really do as well. But for the better part of the last year or so, the stories I personally gravitate towards are the indie horror comics because I find them to be more entertaining and compelling. But this superhero space odyssey was fantastic. I really like when you have characters that are flawed, as the main character is here, female led, and a lot of female characters, which is great. I feel like there's nothing wrong with representation, especially in the indie comics. I mean, indie comics, you can tell any story you want to tell. So if you want to make your characters, all of them female led, that shouldn't take away from the possible experience and shouldn't be a point of contention where people are like, oh, this isn't what we should be, this isn't what people want. Meh. Then if you don't like it, walk away. Like, it's not, indie comics are where you can tell any story. And Stellarlands is a fantastic read and very powerful, female-driven story with gorgeous art and great lettering, everything that makes a great comic book. It comes here in Stellarlands right now. They're gearing up to launch the Kickstarter for issues 1 and 2. Definitely check that out. The link will be in the bio and the description of this video. But yes, definitely check it out. It's called Stellarlands, and you're not going to want to miss that. It's a Nerdtooine comic review. And until next time, this is Nerdtooine signing off.